YouTube. Great, and thank you. Well, welcome everyone to the town hall of the TBPPM Learning Network in 2025. This is an opportunity for the community to get together. And of course, 2025 has been a big year that has put people within TB all over the place, and so it's really a great chance to for us to connect, and at the end of the year, maybe talk a little bit through where we are as a TB community and what has been happening in the world. Um, you also probably likely know that this is the last town hall in the current constellation of the TBPPM Learning Network. We've been working hard trying to find ways of sustainability, and we'll talk through that as well. So, what we're doing in today's agenda, and I will share with you the agenda in a little bit, but we are listening first to Dr. Madhukur to open. Then I'll give a brief presentation of what we have achieved this year and in the 6 years of the TBPPM Learning Network. And we're hearing from Guy Stallworthy, some reflections, and then open up to the community to talk through this year and the last 6 years of the Learning Network. And that's the first half hour of this town hall. Then we'll move into the future and looking towards next year. And the first thing that is really on the horizon is the Global Fund. The recent replenishment has brought money into the Global Fund, even though maybe less than we had all hoped. But Mohammed will share some insights from the Global Fund replenishment on GC8 and what opportunities for countries are specifically also related to private sector engagement. And then we'll talk a bit more about the future of the TBPPM Learning Network, the country chapters, and some initiatives that are happening at country level related to PPM and private sector engagement. So that's today's agenda. And with that, I'm really pleased to welcome everyone and would love to hand over to Madhu to give a short introduction.
Thank you, Petra. As Petra said, this is the last time that we would be hosting this kind of a town hall or a webinar from the side of McGill. Petra and others working on this will be leaving McGill by the end of the month. So I want to begin by acknowledging Petra in particular for the enormous amount of work she's done over the last 6 years. It's no joke to build a large community like this, grow it, keep it maintained despite all the challenges, COVID first, and now this current crisis in global health funding. It's been a rough several years, but Petra has kept us all together and found ways to grow and build a community, which is exactly what a community of practice should be doing. So thank you, Petra. And she will continue to be involved, as you will hear soon. So, on the big picture story, I mean, we all met, a small group of us met at the Copenhagen meeting. Monica had brought us together, and you can sense that the mood was very somber. It was a very difficult meeting, I think, for all of us. The big forces that are militating against global health, solidarity, funding cuts, not just for the United States, sadly. Canada also cut its funding recently. Most G7 countries are cutting funds with the devastating projected impact on TB, on all aspects of global health. So, on that side, it's looking kind of like the COVID emergency in some ways, where we were all struggling and we were seeing the impact on TB during COVID. I feel it's like the same situation all over again. But there may be some interesting opportunities for us to talk about. I'm just put on the chat box a bunch of nice pieces that I think might be inspiring for us to look at. Petra Obioma and I wrote something in PLOS Medicine on the risks and opportunities. I think under the opportunities column, the piece by the four ministers of health from Indonesia, Nigeria, and other countries, to me is a very inspiring piece that I think we should all read. And it's in the chat box, and even the title is very inspiring. To end TB, time for us to own our own disease response and financing for health. a big part of that op-ed in DevEx by the four health ministers of high burden countries is that they need to invest more in TB, which means we as a global community must support that agenda and find creative ways of unlocking more resources in the global south for TB. And I think Guy and Mohammed and others can speak more to that in terms of avenues for raising more money. I mean, just sitting back and waiting for charity or aid from the global north, I think we know by now it's a very dangerous idea. The second thing is, can we do a better job of integrating TB into primary care? There's a lot of pluses and minuses that people talk about, but I have a bad feeling that it'll be harder and harder and harder in the coming years to justify separate programs just for TB, separate labs for TB, separate investments for TB alone. So anything we can do to become part of the broader UHC-PHC agenda will be a good thing in the long run. And so again, there is a piece in Lancet Primary Care that Yogan, Petra, and I worked on, which I've linked in the chat box. And then lastly, one of the nicest things that I felt during the Copenhagen conference, even though it was a pretty sad meeting in many ways, was to see all the excitement around tongue swabs, plus life, products from the global south were on prominent display at the meeting. And so these global south innovations not only are exciting, but they're also much more affordable than the existing tools that we've had. So if TV programs have to test more people with less money, then one way we can potentially meet that would be to resort to global south innovations that are a lot more affordable and appropriately designed. So there are many, many products now that are now WHO endorsed or PQ'd or Global Fund ERPD approved that are all manufactured in the global south. So to me, that's like a small silver lining that we can potentially support and endorse and enthusiastically take up. Many of us are going to India this weekend. We'll have our next advanced TB diagnostics course in Chennai at NIRT. Lots and lots of global south innovators are coming to that meeting. So to me, these are all ways by which we can play a critical key role. Now, in all of this, where does PPM fit in? Well, obviously, any discussion on primary care must include private and informal sector. So if you look at our Lancet primary care piece, although our piece is about primary care and integrating TB into primary care, much of what we wrote about is the need to engage all manners of primary care providers. So let's say we have tongue swabs in the coming year. Could pharmacists use it in their clinics? Could informal providers use it in their clinics? These are all innovative ways by which we can take global best in class products, but also bring them into the primary care space, which automatically includes informal and private sector providers. So lots of work to do in 2026. 2025 truly has been a horrible year. I don't know when I felt this sad last. I think I know when I felt this sad last. It was during the COVID pandemic in year one and year two of the pandemic. We can't give up. We'll have lots of work to do, but it's all the more reason why we stay connected as a network and find hope and inspiration in each other and transfer learnings, especially from south to south, because I think the global south and the south-south partnerships will be key in the coming years. I'm less inspired by what the global north is doing right now. I see more and more countries swinging far right, which means more and more of nationalism, populism, fracture of multilateralism, and almost contempt for global solidarity. And so, in this environment, I think the global south truly needs to lead on the TB agenda, and anything we can do to support that, I think, would be a phenomenal contribution that we can make. So, big thanks to all of you. Like I said, huge thanks to Petra and the team for 6 years of hard work and the steering committee and all of you. And also Guy. Guy trusted us with this network 6 years ago. I hope he's happy with what we did in terms of stewarding the investment. And we are all looking forward to seeing how we can continue growing this and have a bigger role for the Global South in the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhu. Excellent setting of the tone and the importance of why it is really crucial that a network like this keeps going and reflecting back on this year. Really appreciate your works and thank you for putting all the different articles in the chat. I encourage everyone to look at those. I'm going to take this chance to share a few slides with you just to get you all on the same page related to where we are this year, what we have achieved. And I'm hoping that you can see my slides. I'm trying to get it in a slideshow format. Just a minute. I'm seeing a black screen, but that's maybe because it's snowing outside. Can you see a full screen or not yet? I hope you can see a full screen. Is it visible to everyone? Just
Yes,
give
ma'am.
me.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Thank you. So I'll keep it short. 6 years is hard to summarize, but I'm really glad to. This is the agenda for today, as I mentioned earlier. So as you see, we have about half an hour, a little bit longer to look back, and then we'll be looking forward. I will pop this agenda back up in after we have done the reflections. So as you all know, the TBPPM Learning Network over the last 6 years was set up to be a network fostering South-to-South learning and peer-to-peer knowledge exchange. Initiated in 2019 in Hyderabad by the PPM Working Group, looking to quality TB care for all people by all providers. And over the years, we have worked with this framework to really put the emphasis on the frontline providers, frontline private providers, informal providers, and put the expertise that is in the field from the implementers really to the fore. So our circle starts with pulling in learning from the country level, scoping, feature stories, and then slowly synthesize that information to provide learning through courses, webinars, exchanges, and push that learning out through newsletters. So it's a communications cycle that you see on the side that has guided our work over the last 6 years. And as part of that, we have built a network of nearly 6,000 individuals and organizations that are interested in tuberculosis and in the engagement of private providers and the private sector. So as Madhu already reflected on, 2025 is definitely a year to remember. It set the tone in the very beginning where USAID was abruptly cut out of the mechanism that has been so fundamental in supporting tuberculosis. 60% of our funding is coming through cycles that the US also supports, including the Global Fund, and it was very unsure what happened. And the ripple effect has throughout the year, as Madhu reflected as well, that other donor countries, Switzerland, the Netherlands, the UK, now Canada, many others have actually also cut their funding. So that sustainable source is actually not sustainable. And that is the backdrop why the work that we do in tuberculosis was very shaky this year. And I'm glad that Madhu shared the links in the chat because I had some of the headlines here, but not the links. So that's perfect that you now have them. So over the 6 years, and just to kind of say what we have developed as a network, we have members from 130 countries, 75 are from low and middle income countries. From the Big Seven, we have over 50%. And the Big Seven are the countries that have a large private sector and a high TB burden. And from other PPM priority countries, we have 421 members. So I think what we together as community have done, we have solidly put a footprint in a South-to-South exchange network with really the body of knowledge and information coming from our community members from the South. And so if we look at it and we see in what we reach towards what is the leadership in PPM and how has it shifted, we have about a reach to just over 6,000 if we talk about who do we actually have in our contact database. This is people that receive our newsletters, that receive information from us. Whatever is on social media is way beyond this number of 6,000, and we don't necessarily know. These numbers are not to be trusted, I would say, if you look at website reach. So I'm sticking to the number where we actually have contact information. Now, 4,500 members are registered to our network. That's either on the website as members, where we have a little bit over 3,000 people, and that's our tbppm.org network, and then 1,400 that attend TBPPM events, not just once, but a few times, then we call them members. If we then look at how many have actually participated in the knowledge, we break it down further, and we can say so many people have attended webinars, activities, and then we call them PPM champions when we see that they have participated in the core of activities, feature stories, authors, speakers in webinars, speakers in forums, faculty of the course. Those are true contributors to the content and the sharing of knowledge. So not just taking the information, which is often the case in communities of practice. You have about 90% people that just take some information and once in a while show up. But in our case, I think we can be proud that we have a really solid group that is can be called champions and are actively participating, and 165 we would call leaders who really have initiated materials, documents, projects. And so our flow of where we have come over the last 6 years can be expressed in these bubbles of strong participation. And I don't want to go into all the details, but every year we kind of try and say what our achievements have been. So our community has grown. Again, over this year, we have continued our work at country level with multiple new country conversations, but our priority countries, India and Nigeria, have both continued their work, and you will hear more from Mina about the work in India later. We have maintained our digital interactive platform. We did 8 webinars this year, 4 forums. We produced 3 feature stories. We did our McGill TBPPM course this year, blogs and op-eds, and then we had a lot of daily posts and news on our live feed on the website for everyone to kind of see. And then, as I mentioned, we empower the PPM champions at the grassroots level that we slowly feel are now becoming leaders and mentors and advisors on their own. So out of that, as I mentioned, 60% is in the global south. So that is I think something that we can, as community, be really proud of. And I just wanted to put this out there because the speakers on our platform and the webinars is a way where we actually know that we are having more interaction with participation. And over the 6 years, we've seen a true shift to having substantially more representation from the South, as you see in the bubbles at the bottom. 17 of the speakers of this year were from the Global South versus 6 from the North. Our technical versus implementer voices is, again, also sorry, I'm just admitting someone. We were looking for more implementer voicer and not just technical experts from academia. We are now having more implementers than academic voices, and the female to male ratio to ensure that we are inclusive this year is shifting to more women speaking, whereas in the past it was definitely often more men speaking on our panels. So I think over the 6 years we've been able to create a culture shift as well within our community where we truly through inclusive and prodding and making sure that we are represented at all sides, that we have created voices around the table and have enlarged our table. So moving to the next slide, and I just want to quickly, I won't go into all the details. For anyone who's interested, we have a separate evaluation report on our PPM course, but this is also always a supported by McGill, a week where we can really go in depth into PPM. And it's a good representation of the content and of the enthusiasm of the work that's being done on the ground. So, numerous new countries that were interested this year, a large faculty of 41, really well-spoken teachers, and it's been again a highly appreciated course, and we're looking forward to continuing to provide this course within the McGill Summer Institute next May of 2026. And the country chapters, you'll hear more from Mina. I will not dwell on this. Just to say that on the right side, you see country chapters that are maybe not formally established, but we have seen interest from Indonesia, Pakistan, Philippines, and Bangladesh to potentially look at and some other countries. So I'll leave that open for now to see how we can talk about it in the future presentation. And so if we then go beyond 2025, this is just a quick collection of numbers of what we have achieved. And we are currently writing that up in an article, so you will all be able to go into the details later. And that article also shows you a journey of the TBPPM Learning Network over the years. And I think reflecting on what Madhu also mentioned, starting off during a time where the pandemic actually hit, and our online platform has really been an opportunity to continue to bring people together. And so throughout the years, we have kind of gone back to PPM specifically, focused on certain areas that are relevant to PPM, relevant for TB to be pushed. And our journey is with this graph described in a way that also highlights what the Learning Network as a community of practice has been able to achieve. And we're going to be thrilled to share that with you once it is public in the public domain. So with that, I would like to thank all of you, all of our partners, all of our members, everyone in the PPM team. It's been truly an honor to work with all of you. I've learned so much from everyone in the last 6 years. I want to thank McGill for providing us the space to work. I want to really thank Guy and the Gates Foundation for supporting the Learning Network with 2 grants. And I think pushing us towards thinking about a model that is looking truly at South to South exchange. And I will speak more later on about what the next phase looks like. But for now, I want to just thank everyone and stop sharing this presentation and hand over to Guy. Guy, I would love to hear from you to kick off maybe some brief reflections from the community. Anyone who wants to say something, please get your words ready because after Guy has said a few words, I would love to hear from others as well.
Thank you, Petra. Can you hear me okay? Thanks for that great summary of this work. I'll just try to be quite brief. Gates Foundation we've been very proud to support this over, as you say, 2 grants now, 6 years. I can say that in summary, it has met all of our hopes and expectations. We've been very happy with what's happened. The origins of this, you've touched on many of them, but the origins come from the observation that PPM is one of those fields, and there are others, in which there are common themes, such as how to solve the recording and reporting problem, etc. But its richness lies in diversity, because there is no single way to do it. Something that somebody does in one place needs adjusting to go to another place. And in any case, the original place, if they're doing the same thing a few years later, they're not thinking. There's always a way to do things differently, to experiment within certain themes. And so that's why it's always been very clear to us that this is the kind of field where there's nothing anybody can teach anybody else, really, not just from the global north to the global south. It's something where experience, the rich diversity of experience, is what matters. And there's a wealth of experience in the implementers that will never be captured in journal articles or courses. It's all in the lived experience of thousands of implementers, literally thousands of implementers. And that's why for us it was so important to focus on south to south exchange. Uh, the practitioners in their daily work know more than any of us will in an article or a course. And so somehow getting that experience exchanged between practitioners was the key. Um, those experiences are practical and they center on different challenges of implementation and how we overcome them. And it's dynamic. So that's why it was so important to focus on the South to South learning and find ways for implementers to interact with each other and be inspired by each other. I think it's really done a good job. The numbers that Petra shared speak for themselves. I won't repeat that, but this notion that over 100 PPM leaders emerging from this work over the last few years, primarily in the Global South, primarily practitioners and implementers. That's the core of it right there. Madhu and Petra, both you mentioned are the challenges in the current environment. I would focus on some opportunities. You mentioned the integration with UHC, PHC. That's a challenge for sure. But you also mentioned the diagnostic technologies. The fact that these are multiplex technologies, I think, is going to help us to do what we should have been doing all along, which is you don't just invest all this effort to engage these tens of thousands of private providers to only talk about TB with them. That doesn't make sense. So we're going to have to be multiplex in how we work with private providers, and we should have been really all along. Some few implementers have been, but not enough. And that's a good challenge. That's a great challenge to have. And I think that even the change in the environment and the reduction in development assistance has elements of a good challenge. The Global South implementers don't really need the Global North to continue this dynamic. So those are just some thoughts about the challenges and what we can see going forward. I would love to have seen more of in-person cross visits over the last few years. If I had a regret, it's that we weren't able to do enough of that because virtual is good, but in person is even better. So I would just encourage everybody listening to find ways with your own resources to see and learn from other countries or other areas. But I feel good because there's a wonderful momentum which we're going to hear about. In a sense, I would have liked to have continued the Gates Foundation to continue supporting this, but even the fact that we're not has its positive aspects because it's forcing the practitioners and the participants to figure out how to sustain what we all value. And that's a good thing. Finally, I just want to acknowledge a few things. First, of course, Petra and Madhu and McGill for leading this, hosting this, turning the idea into such a rich, practical reality. It's one thing for ideas to float about. It's another thing for somebody to actually have the passion to implement them. And Petra, you've certainly shown that. And you've had wonderful support from Madhu and from McGill as an institution. That's priceless. It can't happen without all of that. I also want to acknowledge the role of Global Fund and former USAID, current US Department of State. They're not going away. They're going to have huge resources going primarily to local organizations in the future, we hope. And even TB Reach, because it's one thing to fund the interaction, the South-South learning, but you don't have South-South learning unless people have resources to actually implement. And that's the key, is the implementation and the learning that comes from that. Um, of course, that's a bit of a challenge going forward. But if we're honest with ourselves, it's time to face, in some countries, not all, the good challenge of how to transition to domestic funding. It has not been correct or good that middle income large countries rely entirely on international donors to fund the PPM work. India's made this transition to domestic funding of PPM. It's an exemplar in that respect. But that's something that we as a community are going to have to work through in other countries where most of funding of everything that's needed in health is coming from domestic governments taking responsibility for the health of their own population. I share Madhu's regret that there's a reduction in global solidarity, which should always be there, but it shouldn't replace domestic government commitment and resources. And figuring out how PPM practitioners can still tap into that is going to be a huge challenge. So there are challenges, but what's wonderful is that this network has created a great resource of champions and passionate people who like to tackle challenges like this. So on that note, I'll stop and just again thank you, everybody who's been involved in making this success over the last 6 years, and I'm really excited to see what happens in the future.
Thank you so much, Guy. Honestly, without your support and your continuous nudging in all directions, we would not be where we are today. So huge appreciation to the Gates Foundation for putting the efforts behind it and the money behind the talk. So really appreciate and appreciate your words. I would love to hear if there's anyone from the community. I know December is a crazy busy month, and even though I say we have 6,000 people, we might not have them all visit our town hall today. Ramia, can I call on you?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Petra. Petra, and I think I just want to start off with saying a big congratulations to you and Dr. Madhu for thinking of this concept of a PPM learning network, and I think not just a strategy but also rolling it out and seeing how it can actually make a huge impact. And I just want to speak from personal experience that as an organization, so we have been implementing PPM, I think now for the last 25, 26 years. And we always used to feel quite lonely. And I mean, we did know that there were few models, few people doing the PPM, but it used to be quite lonely, and we weren't sure whom we could speak to and share our experiences. And I think the TBPPM Learning Network gave us that community that we could connect to, and we could share our experience, learn from others, and also understand that there could be many isolated such implementation happening across many countries, but I think we were all united by this community of this TBPPM Learning Network. And I think so that's a big, I think the outcome of this TBPPM Learning Network, that for organizations like us, you gave us a community to connect to, and we feel part of that community. We feel part of this whole private sector movement, and don't feel alone that no, we are not doing this alone. Nobody understands us, no, and we keep just harping about private sector. And so I think a big thanks no, to both of you for giving us that community to connect. And I think it's been a fantastic experience. And of course, I think we are also trying to see how we can take those learnings for the India chapter also, in terms of how we move forward, and how we need to keep the different players engaged. And I think, as a Guy also mentioned, I think many PPM leaders here in South, in South in countries, and I think we really need to keep that community alive, and see how we can connect together, because see, private sector is going to be there forever. as public sector. So, I mean, maybe TB may get eliminated, we don't know, but this is so applicable to any disease conditions, and I think we can draw many lessons from this, and not just for TB PPM Learning Network, but it's a PPM Learning Network for any disease conditions that poses a threat to the community at large. So I think just want to once again thank Dr. Madhu, Petra, and Guy for giving us that sense of belonging and that sense of community connect through the PPM Learning Network. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramya. Honestly, I think you have voiced a lot of what I have heard from other people in organizations like yours, that how can we stop the TBPPM Learning Network? The work is not going to go away. It's becoming even more important in this time, and private sector engagement is something that will be even becoming more important in time when we are resource constrained and when we're looking at sustainable models at the country level. Whether we talk about how the market shaping needs to be done around diagnostics that you point out, Madhu, or whether we talk about finding sustainable financing models that do include the complete view of multi-sectoral and partners, including corporate and private facilities, etc. So I really appreciate your note, Ramya. Thank you for your words. Thank you so much. And I think from now on, I want to move us towards the future. So with that, I'm really honored that Mohammed, you're joining us today. Mohammed is also the chair of the PPM Core Working Group that is pushed forward by the Stop TB Partnership and by WHO. And of course, Mohammed is the lead technical advisor within the Global Fund. For those of you who don't know him, I cannot imagine. He's a well-known face. And Mohammed, if you can speak to us about the GC8 plans, maybe touch briefly on the PPM Core Working Group, but I would love to give you the floor for the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Petra. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. Before talking about the future, I would also like to reflect on your journey, because I was part of the first meeting in Hyderabad 6 years ago. Thank you very much for your outstanding work over the last 6 years. It's unbelievable to see all those. These are just not numbers, and we are talking about people as well. And you build that network and the community and the champions and leadership, and we have been part of this journey, and it's really great pressure for me personally, as part of Global Fund as well, because you have been really contributing a lot to overall TB response globally. Thank you, Petra, with all your teams, and thanks, Madhu, for the leadership and advocacy, and keeping pushing towards that south and self-reliance. That's where we can ensure sustainability, and I think that's the direction. And I just want to encourage you to keep pushing that, because that's an inspiration for all of us to move to that direction. It's a wake-up call to everyone as well, so that we will be self-reliant only if we are going to cover all our own critical component, while any charity could contribute, but self-reliance would ensure sustainability. Thank you very much. And thanks, Guy, for all the great support, financially, but personally as well, for the PPM for years. And we all have been following your support and your level of engagement. Thank you very much, everyone who have been involved in this journey. It's just a journey. For me, this 6 years is like moving from one step from learning to more to the next step, which is very important for all of us. With that, your support, including for Global Fund replenishment, personally and as an organization, we really appreciate. I have seen that not only for GC8, but during the previous cycle, and much appreciated. support for global fund replenishment, not just for replenishment for countries, also to use the funding, the money properly, and then address some of the critical gaps, including private sector engagement as advocates for that. Yes, looking forward for Global Fund, we all look forward to work with all the countries and with all the partners. Just want to make sure that from our side, we are saying private sector engagement is one of the most cost-effective intervention in our investment, and we should maintain that even with low funding scenarios, reduction in funding, because the return from investment in private sector is probably the largest we would have from our investment. So private sector engagement will remain as top priority within the global fund investment as it has been before. As you all know, this year, 2025, has been a challenging one for all of us due to global funding cuts and reductions. And we have been tracking on all the impact of those reductions, including on overall TB, but on the private sector as well. And we'll continue advocating to maintain the critical interventions, which we consider all as life-saving, may not be replaced by something very quickly, including a private sector engagement, which may not be the top priority when we move toward this domestic funding. We have seen that happening only in India so far, taking over those private sector engagement from donors to domestic funding and sustaining that. And we believe that this trend would be replicated in other countries. For that, the Learning Network and the PPM core group have been advocating for a scale up of innovative interventions and sustaining this through domestic funding. Going forward, we need to continue doing that. I think probably our role and contribution would be more than what we have been doing before. And I believe this the community, the leadership, the champions through the TBPPM network and the core group would contribute toward this, that advocacy and supporting countries as well. For a GC8, after having that mid-cycle reduction and reprioritization, Madhu also mentioned on integration. Everyone is talking about integration. That integration should be well planned so that TB gains will not be lost. Integration should contribute toward this improving quality and equity as well. And that's the way forward. We can't just go only for our TB or only engaging private sector for TB, because the same private sector involved with supporting all other disease component. That it makes sense to integrate that component. But I understand private sector engagement would learn from TB's experience. I don't think there is any other disease or any other program which had extensive experience in engaging private providers as the one we have in TB. I think we need to be open and expand that. And the new tools we are having, that my guy mentioned, multi-disease platforms and opportunities to do that, including all the sample transportation and the recording and reporting, and the need to be more efficient so that we don't have any alternatives at a country level where we don't have enough resource. We should move towards more integration and efficiency as well. With the Global Fund, as you all have been part of this, the aid replenishment campaign. Given the current context, having that level of commitment and pledge it's really a success. Of course, lower than what we have targeted, but overall, the aid replenishment we consider as a success, including maintaining the pledge from our major donors. Of course, there was a reduction, and we need to see how that those reduction would be addressed through optimization and efficiency as well. But again, advocating for more domestic resource as part of counterpart financing and taking over the key responsibility of the programs by countries, as they are doing already in some countries. Good lessons are there. So Global Fund will be communicating the allocated amount to the countries in March next year. And the countries will be submitting funding requests during summer next year. The first window will be in June, and second window July, and the third window in October. We already have prepared all the funding request materials and will be communicated with all the countries and partners as well to use them during the funding request development. One of the important documents for us is the TB information note, where we have this time highlighted the priority interventions which should be considered within the Global Fund investment. And also highlighting some of the low priority interventions. Maybe for the first time, we start to say that. As you all know, we respect the country ownership, but some of the interventions may not necessarily be priority at the moment where we are talking about low funding scenario. And then we highlighted opportunities to optimize to consider different innovative approach and tools to gain efficiencies, including using a new point of care diagnostics, the pooling of samples and use of AI with digital X-ray, and transitioning to shorter treatment regimens. And again, as part of that, private sector engagement, innovative private sector engagement models, including the community engagement as part of the top priority, which should be included in the funding request. And the PPM core working group, most of you are part of that, and will continue playing critical role in advocating for private sector to be part of the national strategic plan for the Global Fund funding request as well, and providing some technical support and mentorship to the communities and the leadership and the champions who could be involved in the funding request and NSP development as well. And we had our last meeting in Copenhagen, and all members of the PPM working group are committed personally and as part of their organization to continue being engaged in the private sector, the expansion of the private sector engagement activities in the countries, even if there is a financial constraint to maintain the working group. We all are looking forward to continue with all of you to continue working in 2026. This will be a very busy year, and most countries will be developing their, revising their their national strategic plan, their funding request, and at the same time implementing the current grant as well. And with all the uncertainties and the funding cut, those tough decision on prioritization requires ongoing support, including technical assistance and a capacity building component. But then again, this is a wake-up call and could be opportunities as well for all of us to be open and to see other opportunities for funding, mainly from domestic source, so that we can sustain the gains in TB, including the gains in private sector engagement in TB, and moving towards more planned, smooth integration, which would contribute to TB as well, but toward this more people-centered approach and more efficient way of implementing the TB response, but more addressing the people need and the gaps. That's why we look forward to work with all of you. And again, thank you very much for all your support and for your ongoing commitment and moving to your next initiative, which will be announcing. And we personally, I and as part of a global fund, will be happy to continue working with all of you and looking forward for a successful implementation of the next phase of the PPM TB Learning Network. Thank you very much. Over to you, Petra.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. And I think you're always passionate about all the work that is being done. And I think the Global Fund has been excellent in pushing private sector engagement at all levels. Where the Global Fund is, of course, when you look at private sector engagement within the Global Fund, the first thing you see is the pledges from corporate organizations. But I think the real importance is the drive that you have provided in the private provider engagement on the ground and really putting the private service delivery into large grants. And I think your continuous voice and two excellent reports that have recently come out with showcasing the advances made in Pakistan, in Nigeria, engaging private providers, engaging PPMVs, the work in Vietnam and many other Philippines. I think those lessons from the Global Fund investments are great lessons for other countries. And I would encourage everyone to please help distribute these lessons to your countries in the planning of any kind of new national plans that are being developed, any new GC8 grants that are being developed. Tap into that information that the Global Fund has on how these countries have done private sector engagement and private service delivery engagement. So, and if we can support in any way to share these lessons, of course, Mohammed, we're a strong ally of the Global Fund, so we will continue to be on your side in the next phase of the GC8 as well. So, thank you so much. I would like to take now the opportunity to present to you the next phase of the TBPPM Learning Network. And I'm going to share a brief presentation again to give you just all the background on slides so that you know what actually has happened in the last months and how we have gotten to the next phase. Apologize, my computer is a little slow in showing slideshows, but we will get there, I hope. I'm seeing a black screen, so I'm not sure what you see at the moment.
We can see your slides.
Okay, we can see my slides. Perfect. Okay, here we go. So this is the agenda. We're now at this stage where we're talking about the future of the TBPPM. Post my presentation, I will ask Mina to speak, and then I'm looking forward to hearing from different voices in the community. So anyone who wants to speak, get ready with your ideas, because now we're talking future ideas. So as you all know that, and we've talked about it already, it's a challenging ecosystem, but that doesn't mean that public-private mix or private sector engagement is not important. If anything, it's more important. Madhu already mentioned the diagnostics. We need to ensure that all private providers are equipped, engaged, and properly supported to get these new tools. It's at the front line where people seek care, so it's at the front lines where we need to make sure that these tools are available. With that, there is also an incredibly important role for governments to look at legal framework, financial frameworks, to protect that these diagnostic tools actually are an opportunity for building markets in the South. And so there is a larger aspect of private sector engagement that we have maybe not talked about as much within PPM that is really relevant for this next phase. As Madhu also mentioned, it is the private healthcare, at the primary healthcare level, where there is so much more work that needs to be done, whether we talk about people-centered quality of care with proper feedback loops, whether we talk about supply chain of common goods, whether we talk about efficiencies along the TB care path, plenty of pieces of work that is relevant to the PPM agenda that we need to explore through proper exchange changes because many of the implementers are already doing this work. So I'm looking forward to hearing from communities how you are working on these pieces, how you are looking at integration, because that is, of course, the buzzword of the day. So there is hope. There's opportunity space for PPM. There are scientific advances. There's also an active growing community-based monitoring and accountability, and there's openness to collaborate with multiple sectors. The MAF-TB is something that WHO is putting forward, and I think the larger or other departments within WHO that are working on governance or on financing are also looking at how TB has done its service delivery elements. So there are plenty of opportunities outside of the TB space to actually take the agenda of PPM forward. Now, you've all seen this slide. This is what we're building on. So we're proud to have strong building blocks beyond the 6 years of the TBPPM Learning Network. I think the PPM space within TB started in the beginning 2000. So there's 20 years of great work that was done by WHO Mukund and a PPM working group for a long time. So we're not just looking at a pillar of this community, what we have built over the last year. We have content and experience that goes way beyond that. And we need to bring that out to the next steps. So what we did over the last year when we tried multiple attempts of building coalitions, many that maybe just didn't work out for whatever reason, organizations that had to sadly step back because of their own personal, but their own funding situation. We decided to put out an open call for partnership. And by the end of the summer, when we had a runway of half a year left, the steering committee, the TBPPM steering group, created a selection committee and put an open call out. So many of you have seen the open call for partnerships, where we asked for who could be a suitable host organization or a funding partner to sustain and strengthen the TBPPM Learning Network beyond its current funding period. What we were looking for is continuation of the learning network, while at the same time, new ideas. It has already been said that South to South is really keen. We are absolutely looking at partners in the South. If we want to evolve our idea of collaborating with country chapters, what are other possible country chapters that we could be working on and build a model that is a true South to South exchange, which right now is not yet fully there. It's there, but not maybe in a fully formalized, sustainable structure. So we conducted a process in a transparent way, and you see the steps in the process at the bottom here, where the selection committee reviewed proposals that came in after the open call. They actually received 11 proposals. They were thoroughly reviewed. They were also ranked in terms of how far could they take on a global role, and how far are some of these viable at a different scale. Could they be a good country chapter or a regional chapter? So the assessment was done by the selection committee, and I was not privy to those conversations, but I know that several here on the call were. And so if you want to know more about the selection itself, then please feel free to reach out to Joel Clinton in my team. I will get you the details, or you can reach out to me and I'll forward you to your questions to the selection committee. The selection committee came out with a proposal, which I'm going to announce in my next slide. So, sorry, not my next slide. My next slide it's the slide after. This slide is actually saying that as part of the thinking, it was also clear that we need to move from learning to action and from action to more evidence. When we know that we have so much happening, and I explained this in an earlier slide, there is actually the action at the country level where PPM needs to move towards integration right now, and the evidence base of writing up more of the research pieces of the operational research that goes along with the newer areas of PPM. So I will skip over this And what the selection committee has proposed is a partnership that actually represents beautifully this tripartite of connecting and learning with action and with knowledge and research. So KNCV TB, Dr. Sri Yellappa, who is also the vice chair of the WHO PPM core group, is going to be leading on partnership building, country level technical support, and the oversight of our website platform. Dr. Oga Omenka Charity, with Waterloo University and her Global Health Lab, will support research and evidence synthesis and also the knowledge and any academic partnerships. And then iLink, which is the new kind of umbrella under which I will be working with a team of colleagues to lead community management, communication, and network engagement. So together, iLink to KNCV and the University of Waterloo will guide the new chapter of the TBPPM Learning Network starting in 2026. We will strengthen South to South learning and PPM innovation with a broader agenda of primary healthcare. We will expand to academic engagement, research collaboration, and student involvement. We are looking forward to bring in additional organizations into the coalition, either as regional or thematic partners. And we are going to continue to work on the digital platform of Hive of Bright to ensure that everyone in the community who's currently connected can still have access, can still use the same connection points, and to actually build the continuous connection. So this is the plan, and we are absolutely looking to anyone who's here today or who is listening later on. Please join us. Let's take the PPM movement to the next level. Join us, reach out. We look forward to your ideas. We are very keen on building with you either country regional chapters, working on research proposals, or putting grants in together. And so I would just say, on behalf of Charity Omenka and Dr. Sri, who both couldn't be here today, we are super keen to work with you and look forward to the next phase. So with that, I would love to briefly open up the floor. If there's anyone who wants to step in or ask some questions about any of the process or any, feel free to raise your hand and I'll give you the floor. In the meantime, I'll try to scroll through the chat to see if there's anything crucial. Saba, please go ahead, take the floor.
I thank you, Petra, and great news indeed. Congratulations. I'm so happy that this initiative is continuing. So I had a couple of questions, one for Mohammed and Guy, because we've been out of the loop a little bit, and the other for you as well as you're thinking ahead. So for Mohammed, and Guy, when they mentioned a lot about integration with UHC, I was wondering how going forward, Global Fund is going to give practical guidance. What kind of practical guidance are they giving to countries as they prepare for GC8 and for their proposals on how they're going to have the conversation in their country about integration at a very rapid pace, I'm assuming, if that's what they're going to be doing, financial and programmatic integration? Because this is something that we've been working on for a long time, but it doesn't really happen because of, a lot of issues in the background and the donor financing and everything. So what are the practical steps that, countries are going to follow? And for you, are you thinking of also considering, global technical assistance, support for countries as they navigate these new challenges on their own? Because as you know, USAID projects and had been supporting a lot of these work at country level, providing a huge amount of technical support. So one option could be to provide, remote global support. Are you considering, those options? Thank you.
Thanks, Saba. Mohammed, did you want to take the first question and I'll go to the next?
Yeah, thank you very much. Very important question. From Global Fund side, as part of this reprioritization, mid-cycle for the current GC7 communicated to countries because of the reduction in funding. And one of the options, which we believe it is critical, is integration. Actually, for us, integration is integration of all the TB activities, because we know that in some countries, TB, drug-resistant TB prevention, and so on, even that integration is not happening. So that's the first thing to do. But integration, we have been promoting as part of the Global Fund, especially for TB, HIV for the last 10 years. But through time, we are learning from that, and more on health information system and lab community engagement. And all this there are opportunities to integrate. And we do have other non-communicable disease as well, diabetes, undernutrition, and so on, the social and other behavioral determinants, which require broader views, integration beyond just TB. And there are good reasons to do that, as I mentioned already. The tools we have for TB, most of them are multi-disease platforms, including the screening X-rays and the molecular tests and so on. So there is a need to do. And then we don't have enough money, even through domestic funding. There are several priorities, and international funding less and less. So there is no other way. Now we are forced to do that integration, but let's start from what we can do quickly, because some of the integration requires not only having a policy guidance, but change management as well, and it requires some time. And I believe, or we believe, that integration should ensure that the quality of the service should be maintained, the gains should be maintained. And for TB, we are talking about ending TB in 2030 or 35, not like sustaining TB. But as Ramya also mentioned, private sector engagement should be broader and more integrated than just for TB, because the private sector and the public sector will continue, and the disease would end. We may have a time-limited target. So that integration would be critical. From Global Fund side, we have already shared that reprioritization document, which explicitly encouraging countries to move towards more integration. And for GC8, that information is reinforced. Countries would be receiving that message from Global Fund. But again, I think what is more important is at country level. If the country program, TB program, is, I wouldn't call vertical, going by itself, and HIV, the malaria and family planning, non-communicable disease, so on, that would be difficult. So it's not like Geneva or New York or Washington or somewhere else. It's a country level decision. And from Global Fund side, we have funding for the 3 diseases, but we do have RSSH, this resilient system for health. And then we are all talking about equity and then human rights and all this. So it's more about how we can use efficiently funding from anywhere to support those critical diseases, but build a system which should ensure sustainability as well. And that's why there is a need now to join hands and synergize our efforts, sending that message to countries. Integration is not a rush to move away from the focus of ending TB, but it's more contributors toward this accelerating ending TB, improving quality and coverage. For that, I think we all need to work together, and it's probably time to do that now. And from Global Fund side, we do have clarity on that to smooth transition and efficiency while improving the quality and coverage of the HIV, TB, malaria programs. Thank you.
Thanks, Mohammed. And Saba, I would just say I think Mohammed covered it really well, and I think the Global Fund has a lot of that technical expertise that you're talking about, and the in-country consultants that work with countries on this exact work. But yes, we would be very open to work with any implementers that would want to learn from other countries, support them in what way is possible. So happy to chat with you also off the side to see what ideas you have and how we can continue to collaborate. So thank you. So in the interest of time, I'm going to move a little bit quicker through the agenda because there are a few other people that I would love to give the floor. And first and foremost, I want to really thank Meena Putraj from IPH in Bangalore in India. They have been leading the Secretariat of the India TBPPM chapter over the last couple of years and really have done an outstanding job. And many of you might not know that actually we have been funding the India and Nigeria chapters over the course with small money to encourage some activities. And I think what Meena has been able to do within IPH is really something to share. And I will not take her beautiful story away. So I'll let her share directly with the community on how a country chapter has been able to take work forward. So Meena, the floor is to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Petra. It has been wonderful working with you for the past 2 years with Global TBPPM Learning Network. Under the able leadership of Dr. Ramya Ananthakrishnan, we were able to do a lot of activities within the India chapters. I would like to take the next 5 to 10 minutes to present an overview on the kind of activities and the future of TBPPM Learning Network India chapter. And I would like to share that with all of you. Just give me a moment to share the screen. Is it visible? I hope the screen is visible.
Beautiful. Perfect.
Yeah, thank you. So as Petra said earlier, the TBPPM Learning Network India chapter, actually the seed for this India chapter was sown in 2021 with the efforts of Dr. Vijayashree Ellappa. She put in a lot of efforts to bring together a vibrant advisory board, formulated an advisory board to support the India chapter. And then after 2 years, after 2021, it was possible to establish a secretariat for TBPPM Learning Network India chapter at the Institute of Public Health, where I work. So I lead the secretariat at the IPH Bengaluru. So at that time, Dr. Ramya also took over as the chairperson of the advisory board of TBPPM Learning Network India chapter in 2023. So in the India chapter, our main focus has been to enable learning because we believe that learning will promote practice and policy change, especially for TB elimination in India, by engaging with private health sector. So our modalities has been threefold. One is like the first modality is to encourage knowledge exchange, create a platform where we bring diverse stakeholders on board to share, to learn, to support, to collaborate and inspire each other. The second modality is to build the capacity of different stakeholders like the TB survivors networks, the state actors, the hospital association, so on and so forth. And the third modality has been evidence generation through research and policy engagement. So whatever activities that I'm going to present, you can actually put under any of these three broad themes. So as I said earlier, we have a very vibrant advisory board comprising of experts in TB and also representatives from TB survivors networks, state national TB elimination program. So we often, they are very resourceful. So when we continuously engage with them in all the activities, we continuously update them. And then in all the advisory board meetings, one of the important discussions about how do we sustain the India chapter, how do we make the India chapter more visible, how do we make it more impactful and meaningful. That has been a constant agenda in all our meetings. And we also leverage on the expertise of the advisory board members in all the activities of the India chapter, such as the knowledge events or be it course development. So we always relied upon the advisory board members. So just to give an example of what kind of knowledge events we have been organizing, we have 2 webinar series. One is the Let's Talk TBPPM webinar series. So under this category, we have organized so many webinars, online events where we try to bring the state actors and also the other private sector actors in one platform and enable dialogue between them on various topics such as community engagement, TB diagnosis, pharmacy association engagement, hospital association engagement for TB elimination in India. And we also have another webinar series which is called Virtual Roadshow of where we actually showcase different TBPPM models that has worked at the grassroots level. The idea is to enable conversations on how do we scale up these models at the national level in different states. So whenever there was an opportunity, whenever the resources were available, so we have also organized in-person capacity building training sessions such as this one. So we had trained TB survivors network members from 5 different states of India on the idea called patient provider support agency. And we also took them and made them to visit the NGOs that are engaged in TBPPM implementation. So just to get them so that they were able to get the first-hand information about how this idea of PPSA is rolled out in the Indian context. So other important capacity building session is about the data management, this data management and data visualization, because this was a request from the TBPPM implementers that they have huge data, but then they really required some competencies to handle the data, to manage it, and also to present it effectively in the form of publication or even to present to the government entity. So we offered online training sessions to the TBPPM implementers. And whenever we have also utilized national and global platforms to talk about the idea of TB elimination. So such as this India Innovation Summit, how innovative methodologies can be leveraged for TB elimination. And the other main strategy, as I said earlier, is also part of knowledge product generation, where we have publications. One of the publications led by Vijay Shri talks about how this idea of India chapter evolved, and that has been nicely captured in a publication. And closely working with the global network, we have also featured several TBPPM models in the TBPPM website. We have also engaged with the media and try to build a discourse on TB care in India by publishing media articles. So in this very little time, so whatever highlights I'm giving is mainly of the past 2 years, what we did. So we invested quite a lot of time in developing proposals, tap into the domestic resources to sustain especially the work of India chapter. So in this regard, we submitted an intermediate grant to Indian Council of Medical Research, which is an apex health research body in India. So it's a implementation research that proposal that we submitted. It was mainly focusing on how do we generate conversations, dialogues on TB stigma through an innovative methodology called applied theatre. So this proposal also enabled us to bring different organizations and also different people come together and develop and submit it. For instance, IPH Bengaluru, in collaboration with the REACH, where our chairperson, Dr. Ramya, is working as one of the co-PIs for this proposal. And we were also able to collaborate with the TB survivors networks of 3 states in India, Jharkhand, Bihar, and Tamil Nadu. So there is also a very significant role for the TBPPM implementers in this particular implementation research project. So this is a huge opportunity. I'm very glad to share that after like a lot of paperwork and a lot of back and forth with the ICMR, finally this project is going to be initiated on January 1st, 2026. We are quite excited about this implementation research project because this also gives a lot of resources and opportunities to work very closely with the policy community. And we also invested a lot of time in generating proposals and submitted to TIFA. Unfortunately, because of the funding cuts, we couldn't hear back. And the other important development from the India chapter is that we have been working on a course called TBPPM. Of course, the McGill University has the TBPPM course, but this course is contextualized to the Indian context. And we have submitted this course development proposal to a platform called Swayam. This is a government-run platform which runs many courses, and they also support with funding for course development. So we are waiting for the results to be announced. In this course development, we have engaged with several of the advisory board members. So the idea of this course is to build a discourse around TBPPM and also to explore the models and how, especially focus on the governance aspect of designing these models and rolling out these models. Also, importantly, to use this course as an opportunity to bring conceptual clarity about the idea called TBPPM, and also to infuse values such as right to health care, dignity in TB care and all this. So with that idea, we developed this course and we are still waiting for the results. Hopefully, we will be hearing soon in January about the results. And we actively engage in the World Lung Health Conference as well, the past two editions. So the India chapter was able to bring different actors together and develop two abstracts which got accepted, and this was presented at the conference. So the way forward is till June 2025, we had the support of Global TBPPM Learning Network to run this secretariat. But beyond June, IPH pitched in and they extended the support till December 2025. So with a mandate that we will use this time, lead time, to generate, to write proposals, to mobilize resources to sustain the activities of TBPPM Learning Network. So fortunately, since now we have this ICMR project for the next 3 years, at least, at least we can conduct a bare minimum set of activities for the India chapter, but also utilize this project to identify opportunities, to mobilize resources focused on capacity building, knowledge, evidence generation, and to sustain and to make this TBPPM Learning Network India chapter platform, which is very vibrant, meaningful, and impactful for the Indian setting, is our future goal. So thank you so much for your patient listening. I look forward to your questions.
Huge congrats to you, Meena, and to Dr. Ramya. This is a great success that you got this massive grant, and it's fantastic to see how you have been able to really pivot from the global to having domestic resources that support the work you do. So I am very thrilled to see how you're leading the way with the India chapter in pushing us forward. And thank you both so much for all your beautiful thoughts and enthusiasm in bringing PPM within India into the kind of research umbrella, under the evidence umbrella, and still also the sharing between the states. There is some great examples to be learned. So I thank you so much to both of you, and I'm looking forward to continue to collaborating with you in this new chapter for all of us. So thank you. In the interest of time, I'm going to ask. I have two other people that I would like to give some brief words, and they have both kind of indicated that they would like to speak. So if you want to talk about country chapters, because I know that some of you on here might be interested to speak to this, please raise your hand so that I know I can call on you. In the meantime, I'm going to ask Dr. Kins and Dr. Rabia to give us a short, crisp input on the topic that we had discussed, and then I hope to have 5 minutes to wrap it up and bring in also voices from any one of you who would like to speak about initiative towards the future. So Kins, if you want to take the floor first.
Hi, so thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. Congratulations on all the great work. I have been a follower, a contributor of the Learning Network for quite a long time, and it's totally like it was disheartening to see. Thinking about the sunset, but now with excitement about the future, we have been thinking about a lot and conceiving different ideas and taking the work, as Guy was saying in the chat, that TB after family planning, this has been one of the key areas that has really capitalized and institutionalized the structure and strengths of the private sector. When I think about private sector engagement, and when I think about the key role and the catalytic role that the learning network can play as we move forward, it's around integration, around I have been having different chats around sustainability of the private sector engagement beyond global fund, in the view of the funding cuts, whether we talk about social health insurance, whether we talk about social health protection or the Prime Minister's national health insurance or any other insurance models. They talk about the integration of private sector because insurance is most of the times provided through the private sector. If we talk about climate change, they are interested in facilities engagement, and also they are also interested one way or the other in the private sector. If we think about from an integration lens, you can talk about utilizing the existent capacity that has been developed in the private sector to provide more than just TB. If you talk about pandemic preparedness, you can think about the pathogens and the testing and the lab surveillance capacity that has been developed in the private sector. And the learning hub kind of comes at the cusp of all this, that we have been developing and sharing the learnings. And now in the current scenario, when we talk about integration, when we talk about all these other areas, the hub can play a key catalyst role. So I'm really happy. I have a lot of sort of scenarios where I see the hub really playing a key pivotal role. So thank you for all the work, and looking forward to be a part at the country level, as well as sort of taking the event forward and really integrated and expanding the way as we progress and building on what we have created from 2004. What Guy was mentioning, I was like just reflecting on, wow, this has been an immense journey of engaging private sector. So maybe now is the time to actually strengthen that, and I see a key role for the learning network to be a catalyst there. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Kins. Some great ideas. And Pakistan, I hear you. Let's keep talking. And I think one of the things that Kins also has been pushing very much through TB Reach and colleagues is that there is also a time for the North to learn from the South. And so the South to North learning element that is there. And I'm really thankful for the Pasi Foundation for nudging partners like Stop to Be Canada or others about their innovations and their learnings and how they could be potentially be replicated for Indigenous communities. So that's just one way where I see really the strength of the Southern South to South communications actually through a different lens bringing back to our world. So Kins, thank you. Rabia, I'm going to you. You're joining us from Tanzania, and Shefda has been doing fantastic work in the mining populations. I would love to hear a few words from you from Tanzania and how you see the relevance of PPM for the future and what you're thinking about within Tanzania.
Well, thank you so much, Petra, and greetings, everyone. And before I also begin, I want to take this opportunity to sincerely acknowledge the great work done by the TBPPM Learning Network over the past 6 years. So to me, I see the platform has been an instrumental for strengthening the PPM knowledge, not only at national, but globally for many of us as civil society, as communities, and implementers in Tanzania. And it has been a valuable sources of credible resource information, learning, but also visibility of the work which we do in Tanzania. And the visibility has been through the featuring stories within the TBPPM Learning Network, but also through abstract, which we presented together with the TB Learning Network. So thank you so much for making this platform accessible, inclusive, but also impactful for the globe. And from the perspectives of Tanzania, PPM has really helped our work. And we all understand that TB case notification in Tanzania are declining, but this does not reflect a reduced burden, but rather limited opportunities for community, but also insufficient engagement of the private sector, where most of the people begin their journey of care. And like in any other high burden countries, Tanzania relies heavily on the private providers, represented by 50-60% of people, where they seek first the healthcare. But also the 44% of confirmed TB patients initially visited these accredited drug dispensing, but also the pharmacies. Yet fewer of them, like 5%, have been engaged, in TB, revealing a huge gap in in improving the TB case notification earlier. So for the KVP mining communities, but also its surrounding communities, this remains one of the major high-risk groups, accounting for a large share of TB burden, like maybe the report for 2023 shows that, but still the limited access to new diagnostic at these sites is low, given the fact that we currently use the Genie Expert, the TrueNat, but also the smear microscope. But to these sites, it's not easier for them to access the diagnostics services. And that's why seeing the discussion around the tongue swab testing, portable point of care molecular diagnostic, the AI-enabled digital X-ray, this presents an opportunity for a digitalization of TB testing in these mining communities, but also to most high-risk and underserved populations. And it's good to see that currently the country, together with the support of the TB PPM Global, we have this discussion of the introduction of the tongue swab, which are more cost-effective and practical than the traditional sample correction tool. And also looking at the digital innovations like the DHS2 community trackers, sample tracking apps, the geospatial mapping, and the decision support tool are also essential for building the functional referral pathway and quality oversight. It's good to also inform you that currently the country is developing its NSP 7 for 2026 through 2030. Where it has objectives that prioritize digital health, human resource capacity, surveillance, sustainable financing, but also the multi-sectoral collaboration, which enables a more structured and scalable PPM mode. So it calls for integrated service delivery, just like what Ken said, for these TB, HIV, NCD, and other lung health services at the community, but also at private sector frontline. And these are critical for us in terms of screening, but also for ensuring there is a stronger referral pathway, but also leveraging all providers, including the private one, to expand the TB, HIV, diabetes, and other comorbidity services. And it positions the PPM work as a core strategy for achieving the integrated and people-centered care. So as we look forward to the GC8, just like what Dr. Yasin said, Tanzania is also exploring sustainable financial mechanism, including the domestic resource mobilization, but also the corporate social responsibilities, partnership with mining, logistics, but also is thinking of how these communication companies can also be part of contributing to CSR, which are all essential if PPM is to be institutionalized, not to remain dependent on project-based funding. So we see combining all private engagement with new diagnostic tool, digital innovations, Tanzania and other countries can accelerate early TB detection by strengthening the referral pathway, but also move closer towards ending the TB goal, whether this 2025 or the 2030 goal, in delivering equitable and patient-centered care. Thank you so much, and we look forward to continuing this impactful work together, and we hope we'll achieve it successfully, just like what we did. Thank you so much, Petra, and everyone in the call.
Rabia, you've put out a very ambitious agenda that is totally on target, and I'm very keen to hear how you're going to all take this all on. It's very good to hear that you have the strong support of the National TB Program and the Global Fund, and we also know that you have some strong in-country partners that you're working up. CHIP and Amna Rashid is based within your country, so you'll get some excellent support to actually work out all these elements of PPM. So fantastic to hear that you're closely collaborating with the National TB Program on the new strategic plan and also on the GC8 application. So really looking forward to hearing how that goes, and any support we can provide, we will be there with you. Thank you, Rabia. So I'm looking at the full community here that has been able to join today. Is there anyone that would like to add a voice? We are a few minutes over, but I want to open up if there's anyone who would like to speak, because honestly, it was a full packed agenda, and I want to provide true appreciation for anyone who has joined us for the 1.5 hours today. I see many excellent partners that I know we can count on in the discussions when we start in 2026 in a new umbrella. Patrick, I was hoping you were going to say something. Please take the floor.
Hello, Petra, and hello to everyone. Pleased that this initiative is continuing, even going into 2026. So I'm more than pleased that this initiative will continue to support and contribute to the response to the TB program. Indeed, PPM makes a huge difference. So I'm more than pleased to see this initiative continuing. So congratulations to you and everyone who has made this possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patrick. And for those of you, Patrick is based in Zambia. He is heading some initiatives that we're hoping to bring in under the TBPPM umbrella in 2026. So Patrick, I will be on the phone with you and on the fantastic work that you're doing in Zambia, and potentially team up with Rabia and Amna, because you have so much experience in the mining populations as well, where I think you can really learn from each other, and they would be fortunate to learn from you. So I'm putting that out there as a thought, and hoping that there's a way that we can connect in the new year to cook up some new ideas. So with that, I think what rests for me is just thanking everyone who has been working behind the scenes. And I know that many of you have been in touch with Joel Clinton, with Surbi Shokand, with Poshan Thapa, with many of the people that are working behind the scenes of the TBPPM Learning Network, where you often see Madhu or me, or you see others that are taking the spotlight. We really try and work hard to put actually the implementers in the spotlight. That's been the modus operandi that we've been trying to do. But I want to just do a big, huge shout out to anyone that has put their time and energy and passion into making this whole learning network work. And that's all of you. I would love to send the best, warmest holiday greetings to anyone for the end of this year. Let's shoot this 2025 year out of this world and start fresh in 2026. Looking forward connecting with all of you, and to continue to be. Thank you for showing your face, Joel. Really good to see you, and a huge shout out to you for all the work that you've done over the past 6 years within the Learning Network. Thank you all. There's no words left. I really think that the gratitude goes to all of you, and I am hoping in a new shape we will be back in touch in 2026. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you, Petra, and everyone.
Thank
Well
you,
done.
Lisa. I'm
Well
going to be in
done.
touch with you too.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Thank
All
you,
the best.
guys.
Happy holidays.
Happy
Bye.
holidays, everyone. Thank you, Rabia.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.